Hi, Robin with Oxy-Dry, and today I'm getting my van ready for the week. And this last week or so, I realized that I had been missing an opportunity to take advantage of my use of the CLO2, and so I thought I'd just run through some thoughts that I've had and what I'm doing, which is actually different. I started doing this week, but I wanted to talk about how to use the CLO2 in a way we maybe haven't thought of already. Obviously, a lot of guys are using various forms of CLO2 in dealing with urine, etc. But I realized this last week there's another way that we can put it to use, and I just want to show you how I mix my CLO2 and how I apply just a simple way to do it. Now I have a bottle of Just Gone, which is this is stabilized CLO2. It's at 4,000 parts per million. Some guys do have the Vital Oxide version of this, and it isn't Just Gone, but it's still stabilized CLO2, but it's at 2,000 parts per million. Now, when I'm dealing with urine, if it's a situation where I do have to do a fair amount of saturating a really badly stained and odorized spot, I will go up to a maximum of 3,000 parts per million. Now, on the Just Gone bottle, their recommendation is 12 ounces per gallon, 1 to 10. And that actually is pretty darn weak. That's actually, let's start right here. Per ounce at 4,000 parts per million, you divide that by the number of total ounces in a gallon, and you'll have the 1 ounce of this product right here at 4,000 parts per million is 31.25 parts per million per liquid ounce. Okay, so if you pour that out, 1 ounce is 31.25. So if you pour that into a gallon of your solution, you'll have 31.25 parts per million in your gallon of whatever you're in your gallon of water, or if you're putting it into your product, that's what you'll end up with. But if you put in 12 ounces into your solution, into your pre-spray can or into your tank or whatever, then that'll raise your parts per million up to 375 parts per million. So that's their recommended use of the product. I've used it at that rate, and I find that it's really limited. When I was using Vital Oxide, which is half the strength of this, and I think it had about the same recommendation for use, the same amount. I did find, that was a few years ago now, I found that it was not working all that great all the time, and that kind of turned me off to the stabilized CLO2 at that time. But then later on I learned about this product, and then of course later on the Beckerts, which I'll get to in a minute. But anyway, I know there's another product out there called Odor Death. I have no idea what the parts per million are with that, so I can't speak to that. But stabilized CLO2 is stabilized CLO2. The only differences are going to be in the amount of parts per million that the product has. So anyway, so if you put in 32 ounces of this product into a gallon of water, you'll raise your parts per million to 1,000 parts per million. And if you go 64 ounces, obviously, then you go to 2,000 parts per million. So you got to sort of get it into your head how the concentration, how to make it concentrated. But the maximum concentration you can get out of this particular product is 4,000 parts per million. Does that make sense? So if I poured this gallon, if I was doing a urine spot, and I poured this gallon into the area, this would be 4,000 parts per million. If I dilute it by half, or just Yeah, if I dilute it by half, then it would be 2,000 parts per million. So bear that in mind. Now, the thing that I realized this last week or so is that I use this product right here primarily as my pre-spotter. And I mix up, this is a bottle of it in my trigger sprayer. I spray it onto the carpet or whatever, onto spots and whatever. I talk about doing that. But I realized this last week that why don't I put ClO2 in here? I hadn't been doing that because a lot of the stains we're dealing with are organic stains, and the ClO2 works very well for that. So, I'll get my glasses out of the way. So I decided I would do that. Now my preferred product for ClO2, stabilized ClO2, is the Beckert product. And 1 ounce of this product, you put that 1 ounce into a gallon container, add your water, you will have 8,000 parts per million. That's very strong. Okay? And you would never use it at that strength. So how I use it now is I'm going to cut it down, but I want to be able to apply it to my whatever I'm doing very easily. So what I do is I take one of these bottles, and I take 1 ounce. This is Beckert's. This is the powder right here in this little jug. I carry this in the van. I don't carry that in the van. Don't need that much. So what I do is I'm going to mix. There's a bit of the powder. Now, if you're going to use the powder, make sure you mix it very precisely, because you want to be very accurate with the measurement. So I'm going to level that off, though. That's right there. That's half of an ounce. That amount right there will if I put that into a gallon container, that will make this product right here by adding the water. That will be 4,000 parts per million right there. So I'd have to take 2 of those. Now, when I put it into this little bottle right here, which holds 15 ounces. So if I put a total of 8,000 parts per million into this bottle, this little jug of 15 ounces now holds 8,000 parts per million. Now, I want to put 2,000 parts per million into here. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to go like this. This is this little thing here. I squeeze this. There's 1 ounce. Here's an ounce. There's 533 parts per million in this bottle. I'm going to do it again. Now I'm at 1,066. Now I'm going to do it again. Now I'm a little over 1,500 parts per million in this bottle. And I'm not going to quite go all the way because I'm aiming for 2,000. But there we go. Now my spot remover, which is the Allrug product that I prefer to use. This bottle now contains about 2,000 parts per million of chlorine dioxide. So I'm going to just top up my bottle. There we go. Okay. Put that in here, I guess. So, now I have my spot remover, which when I pre-spot as I vacuum, this is what I use. And I just hit any spots that I see with this product. Now also has the ClO2, so it'll address more organic stains as well, and also I'm just going to deodorize any spot that I hit I may not realize what I'm, because we don't realize what every spot is, but that'll cover all the bases then. Now whatever you use as a spot remover, you may want to get that product. I really like it. Some people like Prociana have some here. I use Argosheen as well, but what I do is I use the All-Rug as when I pre-vacuum, I hit the spots with this, and then as I'm cleaning, if I see a spot that maybe doesn't come out right away, I will actually then hit it with the Argosheen, which I find works really, really well. So I use a combination. And anyway, I hope that sort of helps you to understand how to use and how to measure your product. If you're using the Bekaert powder, I understand that the flaked version of this, because this is the powder, the 8-pound jug, but apparently, I've got another bottle right here which somebody gave me. You can see this one is more flaky, and apparently this one has a lesser concentration. So 1 ounce of this one is 6,000 parts per million. I got this from Roger. I'd given him some of this, and he'd ordered some, and he got the flaky stuff. And anyway, so this one here is, I believe it's a little bit less concentrated. I think when you get the product, it'll say so. They give you a readout on it, but this particular one is 8,000 parts per million. But bear in mind that when you're using ClO2, that you know precisely how many parts per million you're putting in. You don't want to just be, throwing a handful of it or whatever. Just like, be very careful what you're doing so that you understand exactly how much you're using on each job, and be very precise about it. Don't guess. Don't do the glug method. Make sure you measure very, very precisely. So anyway, I hope that'll help those of you guys out there who are maybe thinking of getting the stabilized chlorine dioxide. The vital oxide again is 2,000 parts per million. The Just Gone product, which is from Pro Cleaners Network, has 4,000 parts per million. The Odor Death from NCAP store, I have no idea what the parts per million is, but and then of course the Bekaert's, the flaked version is 6,000. The powdered version is 8,000 parts per million, and I think they sell them in packets as well, which I believe are 8,000 parts per million. Oh no, pardon me. The packets are, I think, 6,000 parts per million. But make sure you know what you're doing, because you don't want to be going too much over, because it is possible that in some cases you could take color out of carpet, and that's why my maximum is that I would ever use is 3,000 parts per million. I actually have used it at higher, but oh, one more thing. I hear a lot of people talking about the smell of chlorine with this product, and this is 8,000 right here, 8,000 parts per million. And I just stick my nose right there, and I barely smell any chlorine odor. It's very, very faint. So I'm not sure why that is, although I have a theory that it has to do with the fact that I mix this up ahead of time, and I think that the odor dissipates after a while. I actually, like, this will be sitting in my van for days and days and days. So I suspect that when you initially mix it up, that it will give off more odor than if you had it sitting for a little bit and then use it. So there's a little tip. That's my suggestion anyway. So anyway, I hope that'll be helpful to anybody who's wanting to know more about the use of the chlorine dioxide and another application for if you put it into your, whatever you're using as a spotter. But again, be very sure you know precisely how much you're using. Don't guess. Don't do the glug method. And just be careful with whatever products you're using. So there's a little suggestion for you. I hope it helps.